Hello guys, Charles here and welcome back to my channel. So one of the early challenges for students who are trying to get into jazz is the minor 2-5-1. Now the reason the minor 2-5-1 is challenging is because a lot of players are very confident with the major scale, and the major scale can be used quite a lot of the time, probably like 80-90% of the time we can use major scale and the major scale modes. However, when we tackle 2-5-1s, it doesn't quite work anymore. So I want to share with you today a good solution to this problem. Now, this is not for players who are already confident with all their minor scales, the melodic minor, harmonic minor, and the modes. This is for people who are very confident with major scales, but as soon as they require maybe the harmonic minor scale or the melodic minor scale, they're nowhere near as confident with those scales, and the lines just don't really come out. I was there, lots of my students are currently there, and so I just want to give you a little solution. So a minor 2-5-1, you can always spot it because it's a minor 7 flat 5 chord or a half diminished chord followed by a 7 chord, usually with a flat 9 on the end, so a 7 flat 9 resolving to a minor chord. So I'm going to do it in the key of E today, E minor, because it means I can use the open strings to kind of give a bit of a drone while I demonstrate. So in the key of E it will be F sharp minor 7 flat 5 to a B7 flat 9 to an E minor 7. So a less elegant solution to tackle this straight off is you can just treat it like any other dominant chord. In this instance we've got F sharp going to B7. So what we like to do in jazz, especially at higher tempos, is ignore the 2, cram the 2 and the 5 together. This is a bebop trick Barry Harris talks about a lot. So in this instance, don't worry about the F sharp minor 7 flat 5. Again, if you're a more advanced player and you already know how to handle those chords, that's great, but we're not talking to that level of player today. So minor 7 flat 5 is just going to become one with the B7. So rather than thinking of it as F sharp minor 7 flat 5, B7 flat 9, we're just going to think of it as B7 flat 9 for 2 measures. So what we can do is just treat it the same as any other B7 chord and play, in this instance it would be like playing the E major scale, or if you know the term B mixolydian, then we would be using B mixolydian here. Now that's a perfectly fine solution. So to summarise that less effective approach, you can basically just pretend a minor 2-5-1 is a major 2-5-1, but make sure when you get to the 1 you actually play minor. So that can get you by, and you'll hear guys doing that where they play a mixolydian over a 7 flat 9 chord on occasion, but it doesn't quite outline the harmony to the same extent as the alternative, which I'm going to suggest now. So this alternative is again just using your major scale that you already know. So we're going to learn how to use the major scale over a minor 2-5-1 in a different way to what we've just demonstrated. So for this approach, again we're just going to ignore the F sharp 7 flat 5. We're just going to pretend it's 2 measures of B7 flat 9. That's a really good habit to get into, is to simplify harmony. Although the chord players are going to be going, we're just going to be thinking of it as so here's how you tackle it. All you do is whatever the dominant chord is, in this case B7 flat 9, you go down a semitone and play that major scale. So down a semitone, or 1 fret from B, takes us here, which is B flat. So we're going to use the scale of B flat major over B7 flat 9. So there's a couple of examples there. So this scale works far more effectively over the minor 2-5-1, just playing a semitone below the dominant chord as a pure major scale. Now this works great for 2 reasons. One is because the major scale is the 7-note scale you are most likely the most confident with. Now, you'll never get any more confident than you are with the pentatonic scale. No matter how good you get at other scales, that always seems to be the forefront for a guitarist, the pentatonic scale. However, this scale here, the major scale, is very close, and it's only 2 additional notes. Now, the reason this works so well is because to play effectively over a minor 2-5, really you need to be outlining the alterations of the dominant chord. Now, the dominant chord has some beautiful alterations, this sort of sound. All those lovely tensions are there in that minor 2-5-1 that we don't tend to add to the same extent on a major 2-5-1. Well, these lovely crunchy sounds. And the major scale just doesn't quite hit those if we use it conventionally. However, because we're now playing a semitone below, here's the degrees that we're getting relative to B. If I've got a B drone in the bass here, because I've got a 7 string, my first note of my B flat major scale is B flat, of course. Now, that's actually the only note that you want to be a little bit careful with. That's the major 7 of B. Now, you'd be quite right to think, but I want a flat 7 because this is a dominant chord. However, the major 7 is added in the bebop dominant scale, which is a scale you may learn in the future. It is common to use the major 7th degree as a passing note over dominant chords. So don't worry too much about that, but just be aware that that's the one note you want to be a little bit careful of. The next note would be C. Now that's going to be the flat 9 relative to B. So there's an alteration. The next note's going to be D, or C double sharp, relative to B, which gives us the sharp 9 sound. Next note's E flat, which again relative to B is the major 3rd. Next one is F, which relative to B is the flat 5, the tritone. Now relative to B flat, F is also the root of the Mixolydian mode of F, which is why this whole thing works, is because F is the tritone substitution of B. Again, we're not going to get into that today. Just remember, you can play a semitone down major scale over the dominant chord of a minor 2-5-1. Next up's G. Again, over B, you could think of that as a raised 5th, an F double sharp. Next note's A, which is our dominant 7. Now we've got the right 7th note over our B, and then we're back to B flat, which is the major 7. So, we've got every alteration there. We've got the flat 9, the sharp 9, the flat 5, and the sharp 5. And those are the only alterations that exist. You can only flatten or sharpen the 9 and flatten and sharpen the 5th. So by playing a semitone down major scale over a 7 flat 9 chord, you outline every single possible alteration, which is giving you that perfect altered sound without you having to learn the melodic minor scale. I would suggest strongly that you do go on to learn the melodic minor scale to tackle this with the fully altered scale, but in the meantime, this is a really lovely sound. So I hope that gives you a little bit of confidence when you are playing over changes now, that you can actually use the major scale 100% of the time, because you can use it over major 2-5-1s, of course, which you're probably already doing very effectively, but you can now also use it over minor 2-5-1s. So again, final repeat, over a minor 2-5-1, you ignore the 2, you think of it as a 5-5-1, and over those 5s, you play a semitone below the root of that 5 chord. In this instance, the 5 chord was B, and it was a 7 flat 9, so we played a semitone below B, which was B flat, and you build a major scale on that degree, and use those notes to construct your melodies. That really gives you those lovely alterations. That's why this works so well. So I hope you found that one useful. If you did, please do give this video a like, subscribe, ding that notification bell, and share with any of your friends who might also benefit from this hack. And as always, I hope you're all doing very well, getting plenty of practice in, and I very much look forward to seeing you in the next one. Cheers!
Roll up, let me embed a story you'll never forget. A drip, drip, we're drowning in debt now. You can't buy your way out.